All right, all right, all right. Welcome, 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 everybody. I hope you are well. I am doing great. Cool. Folks are coming in, coming in. It's good to see you here on this Sunday. I want to welcome you to the first, I don't know if you call it episode, sermon of the Financial Church. And I'm excited to share this teaching with you. I've been doing a deep study of the parable of the talents. And I want to share some things with you to really tap into the spirituality of money and how to think about money, because oftentimes there's a divide between what we want spiritually and the world that we live in, and one of those manifestations in that world being money. I want to close that gap. I think I've been able to find a balance and strike a balance between righteousness, right, and spirituality, and being rich and successful. And so that's what this space is really all about. There's no dogma. There won't be any debates about whose God is right and this and that. This is really just a space for me, churches, whenever two or more are gathered in seeking to tap into the divinity that's within them. And so this is not just for Christian. This is for anybody. This is an open space, an open conversation to tap into the energy around financial spirituality. So that's what we'll be discussing here over the next 4 weeks. And so I'm excited. I see folks on Instagram, I see folks on Facebook, and I see folks here in Zoom. So I want to be respectful of your time. For those of you who do go to traditional church, please do not ever skip traditional church for this. Traditional church is around morality. Today, and in this space, we discuss manifestation and money. Okay? So let's get into it. Where's everybody coming from? Where's everybody hailing from? And actually put your religious affiliation or denomination. I'm just curious. You go ahead, rep your set. Go ahead, rep your set. Go ahead and rep your set. If you're joining us on Instagram or Facebook, you can get notifications about the next 3 parts of the series at thefinancialchurch.com. Again, that's thefinancialchurch.com. In fact, I will put it in the chat here. I'm going to get started in just a second. You got to wait for these social media platforms to get the word out. I was hesitant to share this publicly, and I was only going to share this with my inner community for this first time, but my spirit moved me and said, go ahead and get it out to the world and see how the world responds to this message. I know that this has been part of my journey and part of my story, and I believe that it's likely part of other people's stories as well. So I'm happy to be here, share that. If you're on Facebook, can you type in thefinancialchurch.com, www.thefinancialchurch.com, so that everybody else can get informed about future editions, episodes. Still haven't defined. Maybe you guys can help me define, not guys, you all can help me define what this space is called going forward. All right. So I see Pittsburgh in the house, Christian. I see Orlando, Florida, just spiritual. I see Randy is a Baptist. I grew up Baptist. And so I pull heavily from the Bible because that's my upbringing, but I will be exploring other texts and bringing the spiritual principles from other texts, from spiritual religion, from religions to financial books into this space, because I can see the spirituality in it all. Okay, and we'll talk about the definition of money in a second. I see Boston, non-denominational, another non-denominational. All right, so I see the Bay in the house, Oakland in the building. What's going on, Wise Nutrition? What's up, Anthony? How are you, brother? Cool. Gulfport, Mississippi, spirituality. All right. So we got a good mix. And that's what I believe. You realize that our church is our Sundays is one of the most segregated days in the entire world, not only racially, but also in terms of spiritually. And I don't think it has to be that way. So we have this space right now, and we call all, because I want everybody to understand these principles. And I want you to know that I don't come from a place of expertise. I am coming here from a place of a student. I am a learning leader is what I call it. So I'll be learning, and when I learn, I will share. I do not come from a place of having this all figured out. All right, there's no way that we can combine God and spirit into one person's mind, into one book. It's just, I don't know if it's possible. And when I say I believe, literally, I mean I believe. I'm not projecting any of my beliefs on you. In fact, I want you all to think for yourself. I want you all to think for yourself. So anything that I say, don't believe me. Anything that I say, do not believe me, okay? I want to give you a new thought. that thought resonates with you, then run with it. If it doesn't, then that's cool. It's no love lost, okay? There'll be no debating going on here. I'm sharing my thoughts, and I'm open to learn, all right? There's a conversation, okay? Whenever two or more are gathered. All right, so let's get into it. I do have a little bit of an opening, given that this is the first time that we're coming together, and I want to share why I created this space for myself and for you. So my name is Julian Gordon, and I want to welcome you to the Financial Church. First off, I want to thank God on the Most High in this moment, for this moment. We are on a space-time continuum of here and now, here and now, here and now, here and now, here and now. Whenever somebody asks you what time is it, the answer will always be now. Whenever somebody asks you where you are, the answer will always be here. So we are literally in the here and now, and I'm grateful to be here now with you. Each breath reminds us that God always supplies what we need right on time. None of you have to think about where your next breath comes from. It is always coming, and with the exception of that last one, but we don't think about it. And as it says in the Bible, your Father knows exactly what you need even before you ask him, okay? So imagine if we could accept money like we accept air. Imagine if we could accept money the way we accept air. We would all be wealthy right here and right now, but we have this weird relationship with money that we need to reconcile. And I believe that the root of that is our relationship to our Creator, however you define that. I also want to give thanks for your presence and your listening, whether you're watching this live streaming, or watching this later. My prayer and my prayer request of you is that I have heard and understood correctly from God, the God in me, that I'm able to simplify and translate these divine downloads for you through the power of my words. I also pray that you have ears to hear, and that this inner conversation converts you and renews your mind by moving your thinking upwards towards a state of wealth consciousness, where you recognize that everything that belongs to God, the Father, Mother, belongs to you. The financial church is a place in consciousness in our minds where faith meets finance. Oftentimes, these two things are kept separately. I believe that they are actually one and need to be recognized as one. And I know that the word church can trigger some folks. So I want to clarify that this is not a Christian institution. However, I know that Christians will be here, and I'm happy that they are. And anybody who's seeking to find the truth, that's what this space is for. Anybody who's seeking to find the truth, not a truth that they can declare to all people, but a truth for themselves. That's what this is all about. And if you believe that abundance is your birthright, then you are in the right place here today. I'm not here to say whose idea of God is right or wrong. Your God is right. Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. Your God is right. It is right for you. Okay. And it is done unto you as you believe. Whatever you believe about your Creator, that will be your experience. And in fact, we're going to get into that today as we talk about the parable of the talents. For me, church is simply a space whenever two or more are gathered in the name of God. And if you believe that abundance is your birthright, like I said, then you are in the right place. I'm not here to teach you what to think. All I want is for you to become more conscious of what you are, who you are, why you are, and that is actually the increase and expansion of your consciousness, your awareness, as you realize those things, these metaphysical questions. So the Bible, I will pull heavily from the Bible. That is the book that has been present in my life for the longest, and so I'll pull heavily from there. And I believe that the Bible actually has three purposes. The first purpose is to teach us how to relate to God, right? Then the second purpose is actually to teach us how to relate to each other. And then the third purpose, I think, that gets neglected, and this is what this space is really all about, is it teaches us how to create. There are so many stories and parables in the Bible that actually show us how to create heaven on earth right here and now, right? From Genesis to the parable of the sower, which we'll get to in another series. There are so many principles around creation. We all come from a creator, right? And therefore, we are all, as children and offspring of that, we are all creators. And this is literally a guidebook on how to create the life that we desire. So in this capacity, I'm not concerned with, I'm only concerned with what it teaches about how to create heaven on earth. And by heaven, I believe that heaven is the mind and earth is all of the physical manifestations that we create, which we call our lives. So again, don't go skipping church and blaming me. Don't skip your traditional church if that's what you do. This is a space in the middle of the Sunday. I did that intentionally. I'm not trying to compete with where you go get your morality and where you get your lessons. This space is about money and manifestation. That's what I've created this space for. Okay. In most cases, the traditional church doesn't teach us about money. And I'm here to fill that void. As Jesus said in John 10:10, I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. I believe that you can be righteous and rich, okay, and spiritual and successful at the same time. It's not an either or thing. I believe we're actually called to be righteous and rich at the same time, spiritual and successful at the same time. But there's a balance that you must strike in order to hold both worlds. It's a very fine balance. And if it gets off, it can lead you astray, okay, and actually have negative repercussions. I was divinely inspired to cultivate this space because I saw a gap between the financial literacy and the financial efficacy of my people. Literacy obviously is the competence, it's knowledge in a specific area, it's knowing and knowing it all, right? But efficacy is the ability to produce the desired and intended result. There's a lot of us who have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We read Dave Ramsey. We read this and that. We have all the knowledge. There's a plethora of YouTube channels and free online courses and paid online courses. All the information and the rule books and the instructions in terms of manifestation and wealth, they're there. But something is blocking us inwardly that is stopping us from actually getting the desired result, right? It's not about information. Right? The information is there. Google has laid it out for us and put all the information at our fingertips. There's something inside of us that's blocking us. And I believe that has to do with our relationship to money, right? Which has to do with our relationship to God. And therefore, we want to clear up those blockages so that we have congruent thinking. And you'll hear me say incongruent and congruent thinking often. A lot of our thoughts around money are incongruent. We believe this, right? You want to be rich, but you hate rich people. That's an incongruent thought, okay? And therefore, it cancels each other out. It becomes neutral. And we don't want to neutralize anything that you want to create, okay? So financial literacy, it has expanded in a great capacity in the past decade or so. But financial literacy only solves the problem from the outside in, okay? It tries to give you information and push it in. Financial spirituality seeks to solve the problem from the inside out. Because if you recognize that you are already rich, if you recognize that abundance was your birthright, then that was part of your being, then your doing would change and then your having would change. Okay. So financial literacy is great and they go hand in hand, but we are actually getting into financial spirituality so that we can more easily receive our divine inheritance. Okay. A lot of times we don't inherit what we are meant to is because we have these deeper beliefs of inadequacy and not enoughness. Right. And that's shaping our mindset. We don't actually know who we are in God's eyes. I don't care it's not about who you think you are. Well, it is about who you think you are. It's not about what anybody else thinks you are. It's not what your parents think. It's not what your followers think. It's not what your customers think. It's not what your boss thinks. It's not what your significant other thinks. The only thing that matters and what I always want to bring us back to is how does God see me in this moment? How does God see me in this moment? And God is always going to see you as perfect, whole, and complete. Yes, some people have some old ideologies from the Old Testament about this wrathful God that is punishing them and writing out the checklist and going to cast them into a certain place. Again, it is done unto you as you believe. I have no judgment. That is not how I perceive my God and my mother, father God. I believe that it is a loving entity that created us for a reason. And just like me as a father and my daughter, when she stumbles, when she makes mistakes, I don't love her any less. I don't love her any less. And if I don't love my daughter any less when she makes mistakes, and the Creator has a more perfect love than I can, then why would it cast me into a place that of what do they call it? I don't even know the name of the place. I guess hell. I don't even like that word. I don't use it often. Okay. So in short, the sole goal of this space, the financial church, is to increase your wealth consciousness from within so that you can be, do, and have more of the good that you desire on earth as it is in heaven. Okay. Again, on earth being your physical manifestation and as it is in heaven, which is in your mind. And Jesus taught us that. So I had to get that out of the way, given that this is the first official service. But I hope that this is everything that you thought it was going to be and more. And we're going to get into our series called The Parable of the Talent. And again, this series will go on for 4 weeks and it'll be at 4 p.m. On Sunday for the next 4 weeks. And after this series, and based on your response, we will see where this goes. And based on what my creator is moving me to do, we'll see where this goes. But for right now, I'm committed to being here with you every Sunday at 4 p.m. going through this 4-part series on the parable of the talents. Okay, so let's get into the series. So given that this is a financial ministry, I want to open up with, I believe, what is perhaps the most powerful parable about money. And the parable of the talents can be found in Matthew 25:14 through 30. It can also be found in Luke chapter 19. But in this series, we're going to focus primarily on Matthew's account of the parable of the talents. Okay, this parable is so powerful because it answers many questions around money. It answers why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. It answers what are the various ways to get money. It answers what are we meant to do with money once we get it. It answers what does money come, or where does money come from? Who and whose money is your money anyways? It also answers, can you be rich and righteous? Can rich people go to heaven? It addresses how we will be rewarded when we manage money like God would want us to. And it also answers the question, how do we get more money? Okay, it answers all of those in this short little parable. Okay. So I know a lot of people have hangups around money because they've been confused by many scriptures in the Bible. And these are some of the incongruent thoughts that we have to reconcile in order for money to flow more easily to us. And money is just one form of manifestation. It is one that is easy to reconcile. It's measurable. Okay. But when I'm talking about manifesting, I'm not just talking about manifesting more money into your life, because as you'll learn through this ministry is that money is really dead until you use it. Money is dead until you use it. So that's not what we're really focused on. What we're focused on is actually manifesting the life that you were created to, so that you are fully expressed. And money is a tool that you can use in fully expressing yourself and your purpose here on earth. Okay. So you probably heard things like money is the root of all evil, right? Or the poor in spirit and the meek shall inherit the earth, or the first shall be last and the last shall be first. And the poor will always be among you. And it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. You probably heard all those kind of things. And some of those things probably don't sit right with you. And they're creating these incongruent thoughts about money, right? And that, oh, it's the meek, the poor in spirit. What do they mean by the poor? I'm supposed to be poor. I need to be poor in order to enter the kingdom, right? And we'll discuss what the kingdom means in my eyes, but I always encourage you to come up with your own definition. I'm not trying to pour my beliefs into you. I want you to think for yourself, okay? I'm not trying to get you to think like me. I want you to think for yourself, okay? That is how you create. You create through thinking, okay? And so I want you to think for yourself. If I have a thought that inspires you, then great. But I do not want you to inherit my thinking. That is not the goal, okay? I don't even want that from my daughter. I want her to be able to think for herself, all right? So I could go on and on about all the scriptures that have been misunderstood and manipulated and misinterpreted to actually keep us in a state of poverty. And in fact, the truth of the matter is that nobody has to keep you in poverty when you have poor thinking, okay? Nobody has to keep you in poverty when you have poor thinking or a poverty consciousness. Right? Our poor thinking can only result in poor decisions, which lead to poor actions, which then yield a poor experience of life. Okay, so poverty is not just a financial space. I know people who have hundreds of thousands of dollars and even millions of dollars, but still have a poverty consciousness, because it's not about it's not about the money in their hand. It's about their trust in God. What does it say? What does this money say? All of them. I think all of them say, in God. They all say, in God we trust. All of them say that, right? But a lot of people have started trusting in this. They've started trusting in this paper as opposed to what this paper is affirming you should be trusting in, okay? And again, you define God according to how you define God. In some people's imaginations, they think that Jesus never touched money, okay? Literally, if you people will run a story of Jesus, and even if you look at some of the movies, they'll assume that Jesus never touched money. But he was a carpenter, right? You don't think he ever had to go buy wood? You think he was just making furniture for free and then putting it on Craigslist in God's name? Hey, I made this beautiful, perfect couch today and it's free. It's yours. I don't touch money. Is that the imagery you have of Jesus? No. He had to go buy wood sometimes. He had to go buy nails and screws and hammers and tools. And he had to collect money for some of the carpentry work that he was doing growing up. Okay. Now, some people might say, oh, that was the younger Jesus. The other Jesus. No, Jesus had a relationship to money. And hopefully it was I believe that it was probably a healthy one. Okay. And then there are other people who believe that money is a root of all evil. And that's not what the scripture in First Timothy says. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. When you put this ahead of God, when you put this ahead of your creator, then you're putting a blockage. And what's interesting is that you'll find some people who have a lot of this, they actually they pursue it to squeeze God out of the equation, because they believe if they have enough of this, then they don't need God for anything. But if you really know the source of your supply, you'd realize that God is actually your angel investor, and that nothing that we have been able to obtain and acquire in this life actually comes through just us and our own action and our own meritocracy and our own effort, but it comes from being in alignment. When we are in alignment, right? Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all those things shall be added unto you. Okay. And so there are people who have acquired stacks of money, racks on racks on racks, by being out of alignment, right? And when you acquire in that way, you may have, but you will also have fear. You will also have fear because you acquired in that way out of a sense of scarcity, okay? And so what we want to do is we want to be able to step into our abundance and feel good about it. Like I said, to be able to be righteous and rich.